So it's Inktober day 11 and welcome. This is an interesting prompt. Wonder, I think you can do an awful lot with this prompt. But what I thought I would do is take the idea of a person wandering perhaps through a city. So I found this reference on Unsplash. And for once this Inktober, I'm doing something I feel quite confident about. With challenges like this, we're often doing, things we're not normally doing, which is great. But it can knock our confidence a bit, can make us feel a bit fuzzy. So today I'm going to talk you through, give you a full sort of demo tutorial about how I'm going to use different ink pens, different inks to create an urban sketch of this chap wandering along in this city. The reference is linked down below. All the supplies I'm using are linked down below. And of course, there's a couple of blog posts I'll link down below which talk more about different ink supplies if you're interested in experimenting. Now, you might have seen me just doing some weird sort of jerky movements with my pen then. What I was trying to do is work out the chap's proportions. So the man's obviously quite important in this scene, and a typical human, an average human, is about 7 heads tall. So I was just counting to make sure that I made him approximately 7 heads tall. Normally, about 3.5 heads is about where the groin is. So that's your kind of halfway point. It doesn't matter if it's not perfect. No human is actually perfect, but that's what I was doing. Because once we've got our man, and you'll notice he's not complete, and we will make him a bit more complete later. Once we've got our man, we can start pulling out different objects which are kind of interacting with him. So there's this sign which comes up through his shoulder. There's a really tall, very reflective tower which comes up through his other shoulder. And all of this is, I say pulling apart objects interacting with him, but really what I mean is I'm pulling apart shapes which are interacting with him. So I'm looking at places that will anchor my scene, really. Another example is you can see some cars sort of coming out from his right hand. The cars are also approximately on the horizon line. They're approximately horizontal. You can see that the viewpoint of this is actually looking upwards. So the photographer, the eye level must be below his waist, or maybe at about his waist. And because that's where the horizon line is across our image, there's a flat level going through his waist, kind of where the white t-shirt is peeking out, and then going across all of those cars. Each of these things lets me then build a little bit more of the scene without risking too much. So we're jumping straight in with pen. So that's what I mean by risking, is with pen, if we make a mistake, if we do something too risky, it can really affect the integrity of our scene. But if we find these anchor points, if we find these sort of relative areas of the scene, so the horizon line, these objects appearing out of his shoulders, that lets us then build in the other stuff. So having got these anchor points, I can now build in the detail that doesn't really have such an easy anchor point. That's all these buildings which are now above and to the right of our man. So this is why getting those proportions right at the beginning was really helpful, because it means that the rest of the scene is relatively easy, despite its complexity, relatively easy to start spiderwebbing out from there, to start just producing out from there. And I just repeat the same process really on the left. So look at where these kind of triangular buildings are coming out. And then I notice one of my mistakes. I wonder if you'll notice it as well. So I'm talking about all these anchor measurements. I'm talking about getting things right and the risk of getting things wrong. And then I noticed that this tall building on the left should actually be less tall than the building on the right. So the advantage of loose and light sketching in the beginning is I'm not sort of stuck in one place. So I can actually adjust my image, and that's exactly what I've done. I've noticed a mistake, which wasn't super important, but it does affect the composition. It does affect the kind of balance and asymmetry that we want to achieve. And then I can correct it. And then I can come back and move on. And we'll work out later if we need to do more. We may well need to do more to correct my mistake. But remember, this is also sketching. This is not about perfection. It's not photorealism. What I wanted to do then is find the sort of outer edge of my composition. And I decided it was going to be this building with the balconies peeking out. So they become a little silhouette. And from there, I'm just finding the key shapes which flow down from it. So this is a very complicated image in some ways, in the sense of all those overlapping, stacking up shapes. So this is still me doing the initial shape-based sketch, which is what I normally call step one. We are just finding those shapes. Finding strong vertical lines is quite an important part of that. I've got these gaps below, and just through a little bit of feeling, I decided, well, I can't really make them out in the image, but I could suggest that there's something else there, some trees or something. And that's what I've done, those swirls, those circles. And that just breaks up the rigidity of the image otherwise. We've then got this path coming towards us in quite an amazing, strong perspective. And you'll notice the path closest to us is actually coming outside, even further out than that building with the balconies. On the right, you'll also notice that, basically this path is coming further out than any of the buildings I've drawn in the reference image. And so I know that I need to create really strong perspective as I draw it in. And it feels unnatural. I've got to say, as I draw this in, it feels really unnatural to put that much perspective in. But having done it, it looks about right. It's not perfect, but it looks about right. And then we can move on. Step two, we can move on and we can start identifying small shapes and textures. And here I'm thinking, like, how many windows do we really need? I often make a joke about don't count the windows. It doesn't matter. Here, I challenge you to count the windows, right? There's probably thousands in this image. The image itself is it's obviously a high resolution image, but it's not high enough resolution for us to actually pick out all those windows. So what can we pick out? Well, we can pick out key ideas about the windows. We can pick out where walls are blank. We can pick out where walls are in shadow. So what I'm trying to do is pick out those aspects. I'm trying to get some texture to simulate shadow with hatching. Where there are square windows, where there are tall or rectangular windows, I'm trying to pick those out. But I'm not trying to do every window. I'm trying to do enough to make it feel busy. And what is enough? That is the question, isn't it? Because enough is actually very subjective, and it's also very much different depending on the different composition. So what I'm doing is trying not to do too much and then move on. So I do a few windows here and there, and then I move to another part of the image. So I haven't finished on the right, but I'll move to the left anyway, because it's all about balance. So when we ask the question, how much is too much? Well, it's about when have you unbalanced your image. So if we move around, we can always be comparing one bit to another and trying to achieve that sort of subjective feel of balance. Subjective feel of balance in detail, in sort of ink distribution, in the amount of texture, in the amount of contrast. So all of these hatching marks are increasing value and therefore contrast. These bold lines here are increasing value in a really specific area and therefore also contrast. You might notice, because that's the only lines which are that bold at the moment, your eye is very drawn to them. So we need to be aware of that, and at some point we need to balance that out, because that's not our focal point. Our focal point is the man. So our eye wants to be drawn to the man. We want to then be pushed away from him, because the scene isn't just about him, it's about his context. But still, we want to be drawn and then pushed, rather than just, focusing on a random bit in the background. You then might find empty areas. So these roads felt empty, under the cars felt empty. Little bits, little touches here and there can help improve that. And now we're on to the fun bit. We're going to move around, start playing with different inks, getting different values, different colours going. So I've moved on now to using a pen with some soluble ink in. This is just Namiki black ink. Nothing special about the ink tool, except that it's soluble. The previous ink I was using is my favourite carbon black ink by Platinum. And with the soluble ink, we can bring back a brush just with a little bit of water on. This is just any old brush, happens to be a size 6 brush, any old brush. And we can kind of draw down that ink and start producing some soft shadows. Instead of the hard shadows, the textured shadows of hatching, this is like a soft tonal shadow. just to fill up some space. We can also use our pens as a kind of reservoir, a bit like painting with watercolours. We can just pick up a little bit of ink. And again, I'm just identifying both places where there is a lot of darkness. So you'll notice in the path where I've just added that ink, there is some really dark areas, kind of probably moss or grass growing, which are one of the highest value areas in the foreground. So add the ink there, but I'm also contemplating, considering aspects about what I think the image needs, and that takes us back to balance. It takes us back to the idea of sort of seeing where there's too much darkness, seeing where there's too much light. Now, in a photo like this, I must say, this is a professional photographer. This is someone willing to share their image on Unsplash, so their image is well balanced. But often our own photos and our own reality of life, things won't be balanced. So we need to take a lot more thinking about how to make our art balanced and interesting, rather than just copying what's in the photo. Next, having played with that idea, we're going to still be looking at balancing, but now with some different colours. So this is a little bit of red ink in a Lamy Safari pen. The red ink, I actually don't know the brand of, it's just a pretty cheap cartridge. And I've shown you on the right, it's the top little square that I've swatched out. And I swatched it out just so I can have a little visual reference, but also to show you guys. And now I can apply that red where it feels important. So, for example, there's red coming off these cars, and so I'll pop it there. But again, I want to balance it out. So where can I find those reddish tones? Because this image is filled with reds, violety, purples as well. So I find the strongest red tones, I pop some ink in there. And now I'm going to be using, this is actually Jewel or Julie by Sketch Ink. It's a waterproof ink. But you'll notice that even though it's waterproof, we can still paint with it. So we can still take it and paint out of the pen. I also, in this square, this is the aubergine colour square, you can still use it and activate it on the page before it's dried. So no waterproof ink is waterproof until it's dried. They're all basically water soluble, they just don't re-wet. And using a few different things now, I'm doing a bit of line work, doing a bit of tonal work, just playing again with increasing the variety. You can see a lot of these darker, deeper valued areas in the image. To me, they have that kind of aubergine, violet, whatever colour you want to call it. They have a little bit of that colour. So I'm now more profligately, more loosely applying a lot of this colour of ink. And at the moment it is feeling very loose, isn't it? And that is because we've got random dark areas, random light areas. We've got that, still got that rather black line in the top left, which I said we'll need to come back to. The level of detail isn't yet really well balanced, and our man's been lost, which we will of course come back to. But this shows, you know, these processes, just like with watercolor, it goes through that messy, nightmarish process where it just doesn't look right and it doesn't feel like it's going to go right, and then you can come back and you can structure things and it will just click. As long as you don't overdo things, yeah, nothing can always work, but it should just click. And that's exactly what I'm going to try and do now. So I've now got my TWSBI Diamond 580 with an extra fine nib, but this extra fine nib is much bolder than the ultra extra fine I used initially. So hopefully you'll see, as I come round and find my shapes again and restructure the image, and apply a little bit of hatching and things as well, hopefully you'll find that these sort of areas of darkness, areas of boldness, areas of contrast do become balanced, and there becomes a bit more flow around the scene, you know, visual flow, so where you look becomes a bit more obvious. I also thought, you know, a lot of these windows are a bit samey, so that's why I hatched in a few or blotted in a few even. You can add a bit more shape to some of these towers, which feel a bit 2D, just by adding an extra line to them to give that illusion of 3D. A few of these verticals we can strengthen, and within these dark aubergine shadows we can add even more darkness just with some more blotted in windows. You can also apply some more sort of chaos with these, remember these swirls which are pretend trees, make-believe trees? Well, we can bring those out a little bit more as well. And what I'm trying to do is balance the background nicely, because when I've balanced the background, I can then leave it and I'll know how much emphasis to give our man. I won't have to go in and out, in and out. So what I want is this background to feel continuous, to feel like one thing, which is then going to enable me to come forward and start interacting with our man, start making the man the feature, the main object of the scene. I say background, don't forget the foreground as well. But the foreground doesn't need too much. It's already there in our face. So just a single symbol, I can't talk anymore, just a single line should do. Then we get to our man. And this is where we don't want to lose that loose impression of a man. We don't want it to become a cartoon. We don't want it to become too realistic. It wouldn't fit with the background. But we can start to resolve a bit more. So we can resolve both sides of his leg, for example, something as simple as that. We can give him some details. Down here I've got the sole of his shoe, and I can make it more obvious it's the sole of his shoe just with a few more ink lines. Can give him another bit of matching detail on the back of his leg, and you can hopefully see he's now pushing forwards as a kind of cutout. I want it to be a little bit more than a cutout. You can see his legs have got a bit of shape. That's simple hatching, these simple details. And then look what happens if we just do a tiny bit of simple hatching. Tiny bit of simple hatching on his back. Again, it just immediately adds shape. Shadow and light is what adds shape. Same in his hat, the back of his head. And now we have a 3D man wandering through our city. We can keep playing a little bit in places. I just noticed that, you know, we could perhaps increase some of the value around him to make him stand out a bit more. He's very white, very negative space, so just having a little bit more going on around him might help. Also notice there's some white spaces in these roads still, but really there's not much else we need to do. And with that, maybe just something a bit silly, few splatters and flecks, just to add that kind of visual noise, which I really like. They've gone a bit wild at the top left, but when I finish this, what I can do is I can chop this out into a better sort of proportioned portrait scene, cut out some of those really wild splashes far top left of the scene, and all that's left to do is the most important thing, that element of finalism, element of ownership. Pop your signature on and feel proud that you've achieved yet another day of Inktober. And if you want to find out more of my Inktober videos, they're all linked down below. Thanks very much, guys, and happy sketching. So thank you everyone for watching my little sketching videos. If you enjoy my content, please do subscribe to my channel because it makes me really happy. Thanks again.